Hello, and welcome to the Fancy Scientist podcast. If this is your first time listening, this is a special episode. It is part 3 of my free 3-part training. Try to say that fast 5 times. Called Becoming a Wildlife Professional. This is the free training that I do approximately 2 to 4 times a year, depending on the year. This is my best free advice. This is up for a limited time. It's only up until Thursday, October 23rd until midnight. If you're catching this episode, you want to make sure that you go back and listen to trainings 1 and 2. And you want to make sure that you do this before it expires because, like I said, this is my best free advice. And I set a deadline on this to make sure that you get this info in. It is really good. This is the framework that I use with my students to get them jobs in wildlife, ecology, zoology, environmental sciences, conservation careers, anything that is in that realm. This is the last training, and we're going to focus on something critical. Sometimes all we do is change this one thing when I work with students who are struggling to get jobs, and afterwards they start getting interviews. You're going to find out what it is. I don't want to spoil it, but if you are struggling to land any sort of job, internship, volunteer position where you have to apply and you're not getting interviews, you definitely want to listen to this. You also want to make sure to head over to fancyscientist.com/3, the number 3, hyphen pillars, hyphen 2, TO, hyphen success. So fancyscientist.com, 3 pillars to success. And I'm going to put the link in the YouTube description, and if you're listening on the podcast, on the show notes. You want to do that because that is where you will access the workbook. And the workbook is really where the magic happens. If you haven't listened to trainings 1 and 2, you'll learn the importance of understanding what it is that you want, because wildlife careers are so nuanced, so different, and the workbook allows you to take a deep look at yourself and what you truly want, explore the options, and start narrowing it down, start getting specific so that you can create a plan leading you to your wildlife dream job. We'll talk more about that tonight. So make sure that you access the workbook and put in the work. And remember, you want to do this before October 23rd. Let's get started into this last training, saving the best for last. Sometimes this is the missing piece and all you have to do to start getting interviews. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing in the chat. Feel free to keep commenting in the chat throughout. Share, like what you're thinking, how you're feeling. I will try to get to questions at the end. I'll try to keep my eye on the chat. I tend to be a talker. We do have a lot to go over tonight. So let's just get started. And then remember to make sure you stay until the end. I am doing giveaways again, and this time I'm giving away 2 free one-on-one mentoring session, 30-minute sessions to be used next week. So this is just you and me on a Zoom call, and you get to ask me anything you want, and I will answer anything you want. We can go over a job application, your resume. You can ask me about graduate school. You can just anything. It's all open for you. So we'll do that at the end. As I mentioned, there are replays, and these replays will be available until October 23rd. They are open to the public, but make sure you stay on the email list to get access to the workbook and things like that. That is not open. That is for the email list only. Let me just get hold on a second. I'm missing, let me see where the Zoom is. Participants, that's what I want. Oh, okay, it was hidden behind Slack. Okay, let me present again. Okay. Last time, we're going to do a super quick recap. Or the first session, we talked about the importance of clarity in this career. And if you take home anything you need to be clear. That is like the huge takeaway. So for those of you just joining tonight, definitely make sure that you watch the free training or the first free training. Clarity is like setting the destination for your plane. We talked about how if you're a pilot, you don't just get in a plane and start taking off and going in the sky. You have to have a destination. I guess you don't have to, but it wouldn't be a very smart decision. And we also talked about, I'm not getting this statistic right. I should probably look it up. But if you program the destination, it says my internet is unstable. Please write in the chat if you cannot hear me or if I get glitchy, and I will repeat myself. But if you are something off by like a degree, it will take you into a completely different destination. So you want to make sure that you know where you are going. This is critical in wildlife careers. And it's critical because we talked about how wildlife, and when I say wildlife, I mean ecology, conservation, environmental sciences, like anything related to this field. And a lot of people, when I ask them what their ultimate career goal, they say they want to be a wildlife biologist. But the word wildlife biologist is super vague. There's really like no like one description. And we talked about how even if you work in the government, you could be working on really different things, even with the same species. I gave you the example of the person who specialized in Alaska. And they said that they worked for a nonprofit, but a big part of their job was working with the government and the US government, the United States government. And in the government, people in the federal government working for the US Fish and Wildlife Service were at odds with people in the Alaskan state government because they had completely different agendas, completely different management plans when it came to wolves. That the state government wanted to shoot them. They wanted them eliminated from certain areas of the state, whereas the federal government wanted to protect them. So even though those are two wildlife biologists, they're working on wildlife management, they're working in the same country, they're working for governments, the job and what they're doing and their agenda, the mission, the role of the job can be really different depending just on the place that they're working for, the kind of organization that they're working for. So you want to think about these jobs as being like this game perfection, where you're putting the pieces into the slots, and the slots are the jobs, and then you are the pieces. So you want to figure out the slot, like what is the slot? What does the slot look like? And you're going to mold yourself to be able to fit into that slot. You want to be the perfect fit so that when jobs are available, when the job comes up, you have everything the job requires. You have everything that you need for the job. You're not going to be surprised at all. You're going to be competitive. You're going to get the job. So working backwards is the most effective and certain way to get paid wildlife jobs. And make sure you get in again on the workbooks, because we started you off with a job tracker. The job tracker is critical to understanding the jobs and doing that backwards working, reverse engineering. So the pillars that you learn, they're like a stool. If you take away one leg of the stool, it's going to topple over. So you need all three of them. So the first one is clarity. Then now our plane is, well, you probably want to do this before you start flying, but our plane is in the air and we are going with the flight plan. That's the second piece, the strategy, like the route. How are you going to get there? In my program, I use a roadmap, because when you do a roadmap, it's kind of like when you think about a road trip, you have to like stop and refuel or recharge if you have an electric car. My partner has an electric car, so we have to carefully plan our stops. The first year, our car went dead because we missed calculated based on the car. It wasn't our fault, but the charge went a lot shorter than we thought. And in one of our destinations, we came in on 0% battery. It was very exciting slash scary. But anyway, with a roadmap, it's more like a wildlife career, more like a career because you're making stops along the way. But you're creating the flight plan. And there's multiple things, but the most important one is experience. Those who have the most experience for a job tend to get the jobs. That is my experience. That's my students' experience. Like I said, there are some other factors that I go over in the training, but experience is the most important, and applicable experience. It has to relate to the job. So if you are applying for a position working on black bears, then the person with the most bear experience is going to likely get the job. Or if you're working on satellite telemetry, the person with the most satellite telemetry experience is going to get the job. And then we went over how getting more experience is better. But although this article talked about the importance of paid positions, it wasn't the payment, it was the skills that they learned. So skills are just another way really to say experience. But what the skills represent is that applicable experience. It's not just putting in the years. And that's what I thought. With my PhD, I was like, oh, I have 7 years or 6.5 years of experience just from my PhD. But the PhD experience did not provide me with the right skills for the jobs that I wanted. And that happened with another student I started working with. He had a PhD working with pollinators, but when he was applying for jobs, he didn't have project management experience. He didn't have stakeholder experience. He didn't have experience working with the public and education. And a lot of the pollinator jobs, they want that. For a lot of the pollinator jobs, you actually have to go to like private landowners or even like farmers and things like that, and talk to them about, I mean, it depends on the job, but talk to them about incorporating native plants for pollinators and conservation and things. So if you don't have those skills and you're just like studying the pollinators themselves, then you're not going to get the jobs. So the jobs that this study found, like the number of jobs was important because what happened is that people who tended to get more paid positions tended to have skills that were applicable for the jobs that they wanted. But there's more to that. And there's more to that in that study that we break down in that training. So make sure you watch that. And then for strategy, there's more to it as well. That the other two critical parts are your education. So you might need a master's or a PhD. For most, I would say for almost all jobs, you need a college degree. And then networking is really important. And having this unstoppable mindset when it comes to networking, when it comes to gaining experience. We talked about how if you can't move, I have some students that I work with, they have families, they can't move. They can't just like pick up and relocate their family. And actually, I met somebody, I'm going to do a podcast with her. I'm going to invite her to I invited her to my podcast. I got to figure out a date. But she couldn't move, and she took a year to find a job, and she went to conferences, she networked, and she created her own job. She found somebody who would be willing to fund her. It took her a year to do it, but she went with, like creative solutions. And I want to share with you, I have Reese Witherspoon up here because I want to share with you this Instagram that I came across years ago. Let's see. Why is it not letting me click it? I might have to refresh my screen. I came across this Reese Witherspoon Instagram that really exemplifies it. Let me just get it up for you, but it really talks about this attitude of Of course, now I'm having technical difficulties. Let's see if this works. Mhm. I do not know what is going. Oh, I know what's going on. Sorry about this. I know I'm not clicking in the right box. There we go. Okay. Okay. Let me put my
Wait around for the phone to ring for someone to make your dreams happen.
see if we can start it over.
I got a call from somebody, and this is a piece of advice that really helped me. So I hope it helps you. Do not wait around for the phone to ring for someone to make your dreams happen. You have to do something literally every single day to push your dreams forward. No one is thinking about what you want to do or how you want to do it or what the mark in the world that you want to make is. That's up to you. So you have to actually do something to make it happen. And you can do it. And you're going to do it today. I just got a call from somebody, and this is a piece of advice.
It's really true that these careers are tough and they are competitive, and the employers, they have hundreds of people apply for jobs most of the time. So they're not sitting around thinking about you and like, oh, how can I help this person out? They're trying to fill a position. They're trying to fill it with the best possible person. But you can make this, just like Reese said, you can do it. And we talked about how you can literally do something every day. You can reach out to somebody on LinkedIn every single day and start networking with people. You can, like be working on improving your skills. We talked about how you can create your own experience through community or citizen science. There's things you can be doing every single day. You just got to be creative. You have to not think like everyone else and really, really, really go for it. And people can tell that drive as well. People can see that if you're doing things like community science, it's not just that you're actually getting the experience. Like, say you need native plant experience and you're learning it on your own. It's not that people can see just that, like, oh, okay, this person now has native plant experience. It's like, wow, they didn't let the fact that they lived in a rural town and there's no major nonprofits by them, or maybe they reached out to everybody in that area and nobody was willing to work with them, or didn't have time to take on a new student. They were unstoppable. They were willing to do this on their own. And also, there's opportunities everywhere. It doesn't have to be local to get experience. I have interns right now. None of them live here. They all live, we do it all remote. You could reach out to somebody, ask for experience. They could have a data set that you could work with to gain experience. You can go to SciStarter. There's like literally at least a dozen. There must be at least a dozen camera trap projects on scistarter.org, which is a community science, citizen science website where you can get experience. So you don't have to go to the field. You don't have to pay any money. You can get camera trap experience right now. So that's the strategy part of our stool. And then now what we're going to do is land the plane. We are going to, this is like the final touch, but it's not a touch, it's an essential part. With the stool will fall over if you don't have good job applications. So that's what we're going to focus on tonight. You don't want to do this. This is a mistake that a lot of people make. SciStarter. I'll write it in the chat. SciStarter.org. That is a place that you can go. Oh no, I lost my oh well. Let me see if I can bring it up here again. My participants. I like to see the participant names. Yeah, SciStarter.org is a place you can go to get citizen science, community science experience. I use those terms interchangeably. I'm sure there's a slight difference. I don't know what the difference is, but they're community science is like is the version that most people are moving towards nowadays. Back to job applications. People say you have to apply for hundreds of jobs and then you get one. No, do not do this. So this person, 6 months, over 180 applications, 150 jobs a year. They finally got it. They said it isn't really in their field though, so I don't even know if they really got it. These are just some things I saw on Twitter. Why this doesn't work. Okay, so it might work, but it usually doesn't. I'm not saying it can't possibly work. But I will say, I know for sure if you're applying to like a job a day, and one of the statistics calculated to roughly like a job a day, you are not qualified for all of those jobs. I guarantee it. If you read the qualifications, they're going to say, we want somebody with herp experience. We want somebody with GIS experience. And unless it's like a job that is not in a competitive location or competitive organizations, maybe they'll be willing to accept somebody without that experience. But if they ask for that in their qualification, that's what they want. So most people are applying for jobs that they never had a chance of getting in the first place. And they say like, oh, it can't hurt to try. That's what people kind of told me, that they said women especially undersell themselves. And they said that job postings are like a wish list. And if you meet 60% of the qualifications, you should apply. I tried that. Didn't work. That's not true. It's not a wish list. They have, in our field, they have, like I said, hundreds of people apply for most jobs. If you're applying for a job at the Nature Conservancy or some of these other desirable organizations, they are having at least hundreds of people apply. And yeah, it can hurt. It can hurt you, because if you are applying and getting rejected all of the time, like you're going to get burnt out. You're going to want to leave this field. I've seen it happen. And you're going to, yeah, it wears on you. And you cannot just, for wildlife jobs are different. My partner, he can submit resumes, and that counts as him applying for a job. In our field, that's rarely the case. You really need a cover letter. And to write a quality cover letter that is tailored to the position, it takes me at the very, very, very least, I would say 5 to 6 hours. More like 8 hours, even like more than that for the jobs that I really want. Now, I'm at a higher level. I have a PhD, so the more experience you have, the more specialized and the more tailored the job applications are going to be. But it's going to take you at least several hours to do a quality job application. So unless you don't have a job and like all you're doing is applying for jobs, maybe, yeah, you can do a job a day, but still you're not going to be qualified for those jobs. So you're just, if they ask for qualifications that you don't have, most of them, maybe if you're missing like one, it's okay, but you're not going to get those jobs. Nature did a big series on getting jobs in science, and this is what somebody said. The biggest mistake I see candidates make: applying even though they don't fully fit the role. So it's not just me, it's other people. And I saw multiple statements like that. This is just one. So in your workbook, what I want you to do is figure out your interview success rate. So basically, this is, you put here the number of jobs. And when I say like jobs, it can be like volunteer positions, like anything that you're applying for that is not something that you have to pay for. So put that number here if you applied to 50, then calculate the number of interviews that you've had. Or if you've had, let's do like 100. If you've had one interview, then that's only 1%. You want to try to get at, I would say 25 and above is a good number. That means that you're applying for jobs that are within your reach. And your job applications are strong because you're getting interviews. For me, when I was applying, I was getting, like, my rate was like 33%. And you're not going to get every interview, of course, unless you're, well, even if you're overqualified, that can be hard. But you're going to get some no's. So that's normal. But you do want to get it higher. You want to get it close to like 25%. And oops, as I mentioned, this is what happens with my students, that Austin was getting like no interviews. And we worked together. And after like, I think this is like maybe 6 months of, he joined in the fall. So this was in the summer session. He couldn't even keep track of them. He had like 5 to 6 offers for seasonal positions. So yeah, and he did gain slightly more experience. He had like one more internship under his belt, but it was really about his job applications. It wasn't about the experience. He was writing his job application so vaguely, and we'll talk about like what makes competitive job applications, but it was so vague. They obviously weren't working. Now he's a master's student, so he's in graduate school. So it's almost, if you're not getting interviews, it's almost always due to one of two things. You don't have the right experience. So we just talked about that. So you want to apply for the ones where you meet the qualifications and you're going to stand out because you have the right experience and you want to spend the time. So this is a quality over quantity type of issue. You're going to spend the time to write really competitive job applications that match your experience. And this is what happened to me when I changed my strategy. When I applied for the jobs I was really qualified for, then I got interviews for 1 out of every 3 jobs that I applied for. So this last pillar here is the application section. And I wanted to come up with an acronym, so I came up with the GEM because I'm the fancy scientist, so GEM, and my dad is a jeweler, so I thought that was fun. But so the first one you want to do is like gauge the jobs. You want to gauge like how appropriate is it for me to apply for this job? And like I said, if you meet all of the qualifications, maybe you're lacking one, then it's okay to apply. But it depends on the qualifications. Sometimes it might be someone that they really care about. If it's something like a master's, that might be a deal breaker. But still, you want to like make sure the job is a right fit for you. This is one of my students, Jackie, and she was really specific about what she wanted to do. So she was very selective. Not everyone is going to be this selective. She wanted to work with raptors, so bird raptors. And it took her a year to do this, but she only applied for 12 jobs. And of those 12, she had 4 interviews and she got an offer. And actually, I just heard from her, I think today. I think today she sent me, that's so weird. I had something on there that says I'm muted, but I'm assuming I'm not muted because you guys are not commenting that I'm muted. I just heard from her today that she's been in her job for a year and she's asking for advice on, thank you, I'm glad you can hear me. She's asking for advice on how to ask for a raise. So she applied for 12 jobs and she's very targeted, very specific. She worked very hard on her applications, tailoring to them. Again, you don't have to be this hyper specific, but she knew that's what she wanted. The second thing that people do as a mistake in their job application is they are not able to convey their abilities in the job application. They're writing things really vaguely. And when you think about your job application, both your cover letter and your resume or CV, you want to think about it like painting a picture. So imagine your eyes are closed and like you want somebody to have a picture in their head of something that you're painting. Like you would describe that painting really well. So you want to think about your job like that. Like if you were to tell me what you did on your summer internship, I should be able to close my eyes and like see you doing those sorts of things. If you said camera trap, like I can close my eyes and imagine you setting up a camera trap, but I don't know, did you do that? Or did you look at camera trap images? Or did you analyze data from camera traps? Like you want to paint a picture, and the stronger that you can paint the picture with more details, the better you are going to sound, the more professional you are going to sound. And you're going to convey your expertise more effectively. Most people, first of all, most people don't know that this is what they should do for wildlife jobs. And the advice that you're given for regular jobs is like be concise, to have bullet points, to have like one or two things listed. No, that doesn't work for our field. So they don't know to do this. A lot of people also don't know their experience or their value. They don't understand of the things that they've done in their jobs. They don't think it's valuable for employers to know that. For example, if you've trained anyone else, that shows leadership experience, but nobody would, like, a lot of people don't know to put that on there. Another thing, you want to tailor it towards the job. Somebody was asking about this, I think, on the first training. And for your resume, if you're starting out, you might not have that much to tailor because you're not going to have that much to play with. But as you advance, you'll have more things to adapt. But some simple things are, it's like if it's a job for camera trapping and they say, like, say the position describes looking like analyzing animal behavior in camera trap images. If you just put on your resume camera trapping, that doesn't say that you've done what the job asks for. So you want to make it match to the job that you're asking for. And as I mentioned, you might have, like, moving along, you might have different kinds of resumes. So if you're applying for an outreach job that deals with a lot of education, you're not going to emphasize your research experience. You're going to emphasize your outreach experience. So you want to make it match to the job. And then a big, big mistake people make is make it about them. Make it about you, the person. They make it about the person applying for the job instead of the job. The job and the employers, they don't care about you. Like, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but they're looking for somebody to fill the job. So they want to see, like, are you a good fit for this company? Can you do the job? So you want to emphasize to them, like, yeah, I love this organization. Like, the mission of the organization really strongly aligns with the values I have and the experience I have as demonstrated by XYZ. You want to make it about the job. So this is where a lot of people go wrong. So here's an example of people underplaying their skills. This is somebody commented on my LinkedIn. They graduated, they've done a lot of internships, blah, blah, blah. And they said they don't have the years that jobs are requiring. But if they have done consistently a lot of jobs and internships and stuff, they do have the years. And a lot of people don't count volunteer work, or they don't count, like, they don't fully count up the things that they've done to be years. So a lot of people have these years, but they don't count them up to be that. This is Sierra, who she really wanted a job in fisheries, and she shared her resume with me. We hopped on a call, we talked about her resume, and she's like, I don't have any experience. And I looked at her resume, and there was something about, like, dolphin tours. And I was like, okay, well, I know dolphins are not fish, but fish and dolphins both live in the water. You want to think about, like, what is similar here. And I was like, well, you have this dolphin experience. Tell me about that. And she's like, oh, my parents owned this ecotourism company. We would take people out and see dolphins. And she didn't think this had anything to do with fisheries jobs. And I was like, this is, like, really applicable to fisheries. Like, you know how to run a boat. Like, you grew up on a boat if it's your parents' business, and you've been your parents have been doing this since you were a child. Like you grew up on a boat, you know how to like, you know how to navigate, you know how to operate a boat. I was like, that's huge in fisheries jobs. And she was downplaying it both in terms of like actually listing it, and she didn't think it counted too because it was like her parents. And I was like, people don't care about that. Like they want, can you do the skills? Like if you're in a fisheries job and they send you out to do something and the boat breaks down, are they gonna hire you who has like a ton of boating experience and maybe not as much fish experience, or somebody who has a degree in fisheries but maybe they don't have any boating experience? So after that call, she stopped downplaying her experience and she got a job. And now I saw on LinkedIn she got promoted or she got a different job. So stop downplaying yourself. And a lot of times it takes conversations with me, which is why in the program I'm going to talk about tonight, I do like interviews with people when we do their resumes and cover letters because they don't fully understand all of the experience that they do have. So this is what people usually do when they have a resume. They make it look like this. So I sent this out in the email. This is a fake person, so don't feel like I'm exploiting them. I'm not. This is a fake person. But I got it from a professional society in our field. And I was astonished when I saw this because they were like, here's an example of an entry level resume. And I talked to so many people who have resumes like this and they cannot get jobs. So this is not good enough. And it's not that the experience is not good enough. It's the way that it is written is not good enough. It's still not detailed enough. Like entered data, like what does that mean? Interacted with colleagues on other survey teams. That is so vague. Like, what does that mean? Work to achieve goals, like what kinds of goals? Like, so it's just not detailed enough. And I want to emphasize that so much is in your job applications that this was Rachel. Rachel could not even get a volunteer job for a whole year. And then we started working together. All we did was change her job application. And within it was just like 2 months, then she got offered 2 positions. And Rachel has been working in the wefield since then, to my knowledge. We're Facebook friends, so I see updates from her. All we did was change her job applications. Same thing with Nicole. Nicole, I think, went for over a year. She could not get anything. All we did was change her job application, and then she got a permanent job as a park ranger. She didn't get any additional experience. It was just a change in job applications. Okay, so you want to express your qualifications. So how do you do this? So this is a brief example of what your stuff should look like. I worked with this student. I saw from their resume that they were in Sumatra for a year, over a year. And I was like, you have 4 bullet points and you've been there essentially a year and a half. I was like, there's no way there's only 4 bullet points after a year and a half. So after talking to her, we added more bullet points. I even think she could probably add more than this, but like she just got so much more detailed. So, like, and you got, again, you got to paint the picture. And I've been to Borneo, so luckily I could help her do this a little bit better. But like, so recorded 1,600 videos of orangutan social interactions. Now, this sounds easy. It sounds like you're just like sitting there with a video camera. But because I worked in this field, like I said, for 17 years and I've been to Borneo, orangutans are really high in the tree. They're obscured by vegetation. It can be hot. There's tons of bugs. They're probably these orangutans are habituated, but you could be running, even if they are, you could be running after them through tall vegetation, through swamps. Like you got to paint the picture of what you did. of like how difficult it was to record these orangutans. Why did you do this? Like, what was the research project about? And if you're living in Sumatra at a field site, you're going to be doing things like ordering supplies, maintaining equipment, working with other people. Like give us details of the types of things that you've done and brag about them. Or even just like people use the word assisted so much. Like, did you really assist or did you organize? Is there anything that you took initiative on? Did you create anything? Did you give talks? So, like, you really have to hype yourself up and sell yourself and get specific and get deep. Like, our field is about details. If you write a scientific paper, it's very detailed. So, you want to paint the picture, you want to be detailed, you want to be technical. And she got a job. She was selected out of 200 people. And they told her they really liked the cover letter. So some people, I'm going to share testimonials with you on the email list. Some people do. Oh, my internet is stable. Okay. Hold on. Let me catch up with the comments. Okay. I'm going to catch up in the comments real quick because I maybe flickered on some things. Wow, there's a lot of comments. Okay, site starter. Usually it takes me like a week to tailor a resume and write a CV. Yeah, if you're working, it can take me a long time too. For longer resumes, it totally depends on the job, but usually no. Usually you want to limit it to 2 pages, unless again, it depends on the job. If it's a research job, if it asks for a CV, then you can go longer, but it depends on the job. You don't want it, you can keep it to 2 pages. No, 1 page is, you don't need to keep it to 1 page. You can go to 2 pages. In the program, I go over transferable skills. So I'm giving you like a very brief thing. In the Successful Wildlife Professional, which I'll talk about, we spend 5 full sessions going over resumes and cover letters. So it's at least 5 hours of training on this. Artistic touch to the resume? No. You do not want to add any graphics. Keep it black and white. You want to keep it simple. And like, again, like we do this in detail. I give you templates and everything if you decide to join my program. It departs a lot from the generic evidence or the generic advice on resumes. Like, don't use any templates in Canva, anything like that. Do you recommend a resume highlight each job and then the experience for them? So you would have to join the program to get all of that because it depends on the jobs that you're applying for. It depends on the kind of resume. Like there's different components involved in it. Like I said, that's like 5 hours worth of training. Okay. Mixed advice on 1-page resumes. You can do 2 pages unless the job posting says 1 page. It's hard to know how to add things like I grew up boating if it wasn't experience tied to a job. Yeah, if you decide to join, that is absolutely stuff that I can help you convey on a job application, on a resume. There's absolutely ways to do that. Okay. Okay, you've tried to fill in experience with other things like clubs and things like that. So again, we do this in our training in the Successful Wildlife Professional. I have a whole section on how to take experience from other jobs and make it applicable to wildlife jobs. It's not
automatically applicable, but I would help you figure out like what is applicable. You don't want to add just like filler stuff just to add stuff. Unless if you're really just starting out, you will have to have some stuff that is different, but still you can make it applicable. If you're a barista serving coffee, you're interacting with the public, and so many wildlife jobs ask for interactions with the public. So there's always a way to make it applicable, but you don't want to put like random clubs and stuff on there. Just like if like you were to say like you're a cross country runner or something like that, like you don't want to just like put that. You got to make it applicable to the job. Okay, let me know if you miss anything. Then just let me know and I will do my best to catch up. And like again, like all these things, so like career gaps and everything, I explain it all in the training, and it depends on your unique situation. Which is why in my programs I do mentoring, because it's not just like one quick answer. It depends on what you have been doing and how to frame that. And it also depends on the jobs that you are applying to. And then you've got to, okay, so this leads in, it depends on the jobs you're applying to. You got to match it to the job. So the last part is you got to match it to the job. So what I teach you in the program is in every job posting, they have a list of different responsibilities. And what you want to do is figure out the themes of the job. So many people, they have a generic cover letter telling the employers, here's like about me. Like, this is like what I care about. This is the experience I've had. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is figure out what the job wants. So this is a direct example from my program. And you find the themes. Okay, you're going to, for this job, they want you to new revenue. So that's fundraising. They want you to engage members of the community. That's outreach. They want you to facilitate programming. That's outreach. They want you to do animal husbandry, work with live animals and use them as in outreach. So you're going to identify themes with the jobs. And then in your cover letters, especially, this is really where this applies. You're going to build your cover letters off of your themes. So if this job, clearly they care about outreach, so you're going to have a whole paragraph about outreach, and you're going to talk about what the job wants and how your past experiences have given you the experience, skills, and knowledge to do what that job wants. And you're going to back it up with examples. So it's not about you. I mean, it is about you in terms of like you're backing up with examples, but you're telling them how the things that you've done make you the best candidate to do what the job is asking for. So this is why it takes so long to write a cover letter, because you're tailoring it exactly for that position. So this is an example of one of my cover letters from when I was applying that I got an interview for. And you're going to use the exact language of the posting. So I highlighted or I underlined some things here. These two things, I develop strategy, vision, and work plan. Now, this is probably not a combination that I would come up with. I don't really use the word work plan. I'm sure I took this from the job posting. Create short and long-term goals. Again, that's not something like I just randomly throw out in my cover letter. So I'm sure I took that from the job posting. Project management includes, I had a framework for development and evaluation. These are things I guarantee I took directly from the job posting. And I give examples of all of this stuff. I've managed multiple projects around the world. Now, obviously, this is more advanced because I wrote this in 2019. So I had a postdoc, I had a PhD. So yours are not going to be, if you're just starting out, yours are not going to be, at this level. You're not going to have all this experience. But I talked about managing multiple projects around the world, that I scaled projects. I worked with undergraduates, teachers. I set deadlines. I met them. We expanded our projects. I collaborated with, they probably also asked if they probably wanted somebody who could like work across organizations. So I talked about the different organizations that I worked with. You want to use their language. So this is how your stool is complete. When you have all three of these things, then you will get your job. You will. It may take, like, depending on how competitive the job is, it may take some time, but you really cannot not get it if you have these things. Like, you really will. Like, I'm so confident. If you have the right experience, the right network, the right education, and you write a really strong job application for the job you specifically have been going for, there's no way you can't get it. Like, even if the job is really competitive, if you keep going and you keep trying, you will get it. I guarantee it. So that's the framework. So how do you do all of this stuff? Okay, question deeper. What is there? Okay. Okay, I don't think I missed. Oh, okay. Asking about artistic graphics or more about poetry, flowery language. Yeah, you don't want to use poetry or flowery language ever in sciencey things. You want to be direct, explain, descriptive, provide statistics, provide outcomes, provide evidence. It's like you're building a case. It's like a court case. You're building a court case. You're providing evidence. You're providing documentation that you should get the job. That's really what it is. And you don't want to add fluff stuff. Like so many people are like, and another thing, you can tell when AI writes a resume and a cover letter. I did internships over the summer, and I had 2 cover letters. And when I first read them, the cover letters were like, if we have time, maybe I have some screenshots of them. The cover letters were like, at first I was like, oh gosh, this is so nice. They were like, wow, when I came across Fancy Scientist, I couldn't believe like that I finally stumbled upon or finally found an organization that blended outreach, science education, outreach, and I don't know, something else. And I was like, wow, they really understand my organization. But then I realized they were only kind of like complimenting my organization, and they weren't saying anything about themselves. It was really shallow what they were saying. They're an excellent communicator, but they weren't backing it up with any evidence. They were just saying like, oh, I'm really great at communication and teamwork. And it's like, well, do I just trust you on that? Like, how do I know? So you have to provide the evidence. And when I took those screenshots, I was showing my students, don't use AI to write your cover letters, because you can tell they actually used I'm 100% sure it's AI, because they used like the same wording and the same language. So it was like the 2 screenshots, I didn't realize it at the time, but comparing them, they had the same wording. So do not use AI to write your cover letters. People will be able to tell it's a bunch of fluff. There's no substance in it. So basically, what you're gonna do, this is the process. It's really simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. You're going to decide what you want to do and fully understand the requirements using the job tracker. You're going to want to reach out to people, network, talk to them to fully understand the jobs out there. And you're going to fill in your gaps. So you're going to have your dream job, and you're going to figure out, like, from the job postings, like, what do you need? Like, you're going to look at it. Do they ask for stakeholder experience? The one that we looked at asked for like revenue generating. So that means fundraising. Do you have fundraising experience? Do you have experience with ambassador animals? Do you have experience giving public talks. Like those are the kinds of things you'll see in the job posting. You might need a specific education. So you might need a master's. You're probably not going to need certifications, but you might need to be a certified wildlife biologist for some jobs. And you're in a network. Network is really important. You want to make sure that you know the right people who can get you the kinds of jobs you want, so that when you are applying for jobs, you might know people who are interviewing you or who are on the interview panel, or you're going to know people who know people on the interview panel, and they're going to put in a good word for you. And you're going to, of course, apply to jobs. You're going to use the information that you used from tonight's session to make detailed cover letters, detailed resumes. You're going to match yourself to the position and fully explain, providing evidence why you are the best for the position. So I remember I was talking to one student about getting a wildlife career, and he said it's like climbing Mount Everest, but you don't have the equipment needed to get up there. And I thought that was such a good analogy. It's so true. So, do you have the equipment? And so you could do this all on your own, but like what I provide for you in my programs is the equipment. And then also you'll find out I'm your guide. So you could do this all on your own. You definitely could. I mean, people get jobs on their own without my help. They've, I've only been around I started doing this really seriously, essentially 5 years ago, but the program I'm going to talk about tonight is 4 years old. But so you could do this on your own, but you won't have the context of the jobs. And that's a huge part of my program. You will have the job tracker. You already have the job tracker. And of course, you have the job postings. But there's a lot of technical language in the job postings that you might not understand. Like when I talked about revenue generating, I don't remember the exact words that the posting said, but like you might not know that that means fundraising experience or grant writing experience. Or you might read stakeholder and not know what that means, or not just fully understand like what is really important at an organization. And because you don't have this background information, you might be second guessing yourself. I do know for sure if you do it on your own, it will take you longer and it will probably cost you more money. We'll go into depth a little bit on this. I'm like, you also might be second guessing if you can trust the information. In the first training, we talked about how a lot of information online is incorrect. You want to make sure that you know who you're asking. You don't want to ask students for advice. I see a lot of that on Facebook. People join my group and they're like, oh, I want to network. And it's like, well, do you really want to network with students? Can students get you the job that you want? Like they're at the same level as you. Or a lot of people try to network with graduate students and get advice from them. And it's like graduate students don't have jobs yet. So do you really want to network with them? Because I want to take advice from somebody who has what I want. That's actually a motto I use in my life. Like whenever my family gives me like their opinion and I get annoyed by it, I just tell them. Sometimes I tell them, sometimes I just think it to myself. But unless they have what I want, I'm not going to take advice from them. I'm really not. If like I went on a weight loss journey over the past year, unless somebody has a physique that I want, I'm not going to take advice from them. Like I'm not, because what they're doing is not what I want. And you might not go down a path that's not right for you. We talked about how a lot of people think they need more experience to make decisions. They're like, oh, I don't know what I want to be, so I'm just going to get more experience. But you can only have so many experiences in your life before you have to make a decision. What if you never get experience in the thing that you really want? Or what if you start doing something And because you're doing it at the entry level, it's not what you thought it was. So you could look at graduate school or graduate students and see like, oh, wow, they're so cool. That person is studying puffins. They get to go into the wild and like look at these puffin colonies and look at these birds all day. Yeah, they're doing that in graduate school, but when they're a professor, is that what their job is going to look like? You're not going to be in graduate school forever. So you want to like think about like what does the actual job look like that you want to be in? So for this reason, I created the Successful Wildlife Professional. I mentioned, I think in the last training, that it started off as a 6-week program. And I just realized I had so much to share, and my students had so many questions that it has now developed into this 4-month program. So I'm going to teach you now how we do all of this in the program. And I truly believe it is the easiest, the most systematic by far, the cheapest, lowest effort. I mean, there's going to be effort, there's going to be energy, but it's going to be like intentional and directed as opposed to spinning your wheels in other places. And it's really the most convenient way to get what you want, your wildlife dream. I built this basically for my younger self. When I went into graduate school, I wish I had something like this. And I was told we had to enroll in a class that I thought was going to be this, but it wasn't this at all. It was like teaching you how to give talks and a little bit about writing papers and stuff like that. This is all about how to get the job. So it's 17 weeks, and what it entails is it's 16 detailed trainings. You'll find out there's a bonus week. And it takes you through understanding what research is, the jobs, the workplaces, all the everything we've talked about, we spend at least one training on. And by one training, I mean at least 30 minutes, between 30 to an hour and a half. So you'll have all the background information. Every training comes with a workbook. So similar to the workbooks that you've done tonight, they accompany the training. And this is not just like to make sure that you watch the recordings. This is like deep dives into understanding what you want, understanding the fields. And then after 7 weeks, you'll start creating a roadmap that will lead you to where you want to go. You will get templates and formulas. So all you guys are asking questions about resumes, about CVs, cover letters. I have templates with all of this stuff, with cold emails, cold LinkedIn messages. So all you have to do is like plug in and play and adapt it for your questions or for your needs. If you're reaching out to professors in graduate school, I have templates for that. I have templates for everything. And examples too. You'll get all of my past cover letters. I have examples from my students so that you'll get examples at every level. So I think like Austin's resumes are in there. Christina's resumes are in there. So if you have a PhD or if you're just starting out, you'll find examples that match your background. And then the best part is you get mentoring. So mentoring with me, nobody else. There's the other programs that I've seen, there's hardly any other programs out there, but it's usually they have other people. So it's me. You get to work directly with me. I've been in this field I've been practicing as a researcher for 17 years. I have the CV of a professor. I have over 30 publications. I've worked with prestigious organizations, the Smithsonian, Conservation International, World Wildlife Fund, Wildlife Conservation Society. I've worked with all of those organizations, or worked with people from all those organizations. And during the mentoring sessions, we work on anything that you have a problem with in any realm of your professional career. So this is how we do it week by week. So the first week, we'll go with the first few weeks. So the first couple of weeks, we understand the differences between the different job titles. I remember this one post from a Facebook group. Somebody said they wanted to be a wildlife biologist, but they were going to get their master's in environmental sciences. And I was like, well, why would you do? And they were going to spend $30,000 on a master's degree. And I was like, why would you do this? Like, don't do that. If you want to be a wildlife biologist, get your master's, like do a master's program in wildlife biology. Environmental sciences is not wildlife biology. They're totally different. So we understand like they're related, they're similar, there's some overlap, but we understand the differences between the different titles. Then we spent a whole training on understanding research. I did not fully understand what research was until the middle of graduate school. That's when I really understood what research was. And I did 3 internships where I was doing research. I had publications, but I didn't fully understand like what it meant to do research. So we're going to talk about research, what it looks like in all the different job workplaces and all the different job types, and how research is changing with the future, how it's changing with technology. It does. The only wildlife biologist when I started that I knew about was Jane Goodall. Research looks nothing like what Jane Goodall did now. There's very, very few people doing research like that. It's really hard to get funding for jobs like that. Yeah, most jobs are not like that at all. And then weeks 3 through 6, we start to understand the different job types and the different job workplaces. So I gave you a huge overview of all the different workplaces and types. And then as you learn about like what these organizations care about and what they prioritize, I remember when I was talking about museums, like in one of these trainings, museums, they care about specimens. So if you work for a museum or if you work at most museums, unless you're working with birds and mammals, but even if you do work with birds and mammals, you might have to go and do research where you take animal specimens, which means trapping them and if it's birds or mammals, euthanizing them for collections. Or if it's small mammals, you might be doing something like mouse traps or something like that. So like we go over like all the different types of workplaces and like what they care about and what the jobs care about at those places. So yeah, if you want a job at a museum, like your research is going to have to revolve around the collections because that's what museums are. And this is just one example of just one of the like exercises I have you do. It's not really an exercise, but I just want to show you how systematic this is because so many people are like, I don't know what I want to do. And that's how I was when I started out. I did not know what I wanted to do. And I was interested in so many different things. So as you learn about these different fields, or these different career types and career workplaces, you can start crossing off or making like positive check marks for the things that you like. So then you start narrowing down the options. And like, yes, you do want to figure out like what you want to do, but it's okay to have multiple options. Like say, like for me, I was always really interested in doing research and education. Or actually, and communications actually too. Those are like the 3 areas. But say you want to do research and communications. People would always say to me like, oh, you can get a job in science communication. Like when I was in my PhD, they're like, oh, you can always get a job in science communication. But when I started applying for science communication jobs, I was not qualified for most of those jobs because communications jobs, they wanted people who had a strong communications background over a scientific background. So they didn't care if you were a scientist who was a good communicator. They wanted somebody with like a journalism background. So if I had known that when I was in graduate school, I could have taken some courses in journalism, or maybe we would have even had communications courses that would have helped me, and I could have prepared myself like equally for those two careers. So it is about like getting specific, but it's also like you ultimately do want to make a decision, but it's also about getting the right qualifications for the jobs that you want if you want multiple jobs at the same time. So this is a spreadsheet that I give you guys that you use to systematically go through all the jobs. And then by the end, you'll have some sort of idea like, okay, I want to work for not like I'm thinking about working for these organizations and research or maybe education. And then you can start going for those jobs. And then in the last week of clarity, we combine all of your information together and we create a roadmap. We create a roadmap for a year and for your ultimate career goal. And then we also like evaluate your roadmap as well. So I know wildlife careers, some of them don't pay well. So you're going to do a salary analysis of your job to see if you are willing to receive that kind of paycheck, or maybe you want to do something more lucrative. So I give you like budget worksheets, all this kind of stuff. This is a very action-oriented week. And then, like I said, you create like a draft action plan or a roadmap of where you want to ultimately go. And then you take a year and you break that down. So every month you have a goal that you're working towards. So it doesn't feel so ambiguous. It doesn't, because I know like when we talk about like your 5-year plan, it feels like, oh my gosh, I have 5 years. Like that's so much time. But we break it down to a year. Even a year seems like a lot of time. But when you break it down month by month, you can start making like mini goals that you can work towards. Like, okay, I know in 3 years I want to work towards graduate school. I want to get a master's degree. So what can I be doing this year? Well, I want to have had reached out to professors. So maybe 1 month you can start researching professors, or maybe you can do that for 2 months. And maybe the 3rd month you start crafting your email to send out to professors. Then maybe your 4th month you actually reach out to them and start sending emails. So like we break this all down for you so that it is very doable, very approachable, and you feel good about yourself for making actions every single day or every single week. Oh, another thing is in the workbooks, I also ask you questions about yourself. So it's not just about the career. It's about, well, it is about the career, but like we are so, I'm going to skip back so you're not reading, so you're listening. We are so tied up in our career. Like you do this because you love this, because it's like part of who you are. And the questions are they're questions that will help you understand what it is that you want. They're questions I've taken from other professional development courses. And sometimes we think we want something. I've had this happened to so many students. They think they want something. Then when they start learning more and more about it, they decide that's actually not what they really wanted. That's what happened to me. But this was one of my students, Christina. Is a long text, but basically she thought she wanted to work in the field with birds. And then she did the program. And over time, she realized that she liked writing. She said she enjoys organizing, planning, and logistics. So now she is working as a grant coordinator position for Idaho Fish and Game, and she loves it. And then like this is the best part. It pays well. You know, she's doing conservation work and has growth potential. And she has a permanent job. She gets to attend trainings. She's in like a position that she's very happy with, and she's doing good. Like that's what she wanted to do. So then after you have your roadmap, then we're doing like what I talked about here. We're figuring out, okay, like what are the gaps? Like what experience do you need? So we talk about doing community science more in depth. I give you more examples. I give you more help with this. We talk about sending cold emails to get experience, building your network. I give you detailed information on all of this stuff. How to network with people both online and in person, how to do conferences. I went to conferences literally for over 10 years and did not do them right. I just thought I would bump into the right people or go to a social event and talk to people. No, that's not how you want to do it. You want to go to the conference with intention and purpose, connecting with people ahead of time, and knowing what you want. Online networking, that is huge. We talk in depth about education. There are so many different types of master's programs. How do you know which one is right for you? How to get into a master's program or a PhD? How to do this without having to pay for it, to get a stipend? How to get fellowships. My students have gotten fellowships and scholarships. I just did a podcast interview with Camilla. She got a GRFP fellowship. She's able to now go to basically any university she wants to for her master's, and she chose Colorado. We go over courses and certificates. This is Melina. I did an interview with her. She wanted to switch from being a computer software engineer to an environmental career. She was my second student ever to work with me. And we got her into graduate school for an environmental career. And she did so well on her application that she got a scholarship for it. And then finally, we go, oh, wow, we spent a lot of time on job applications tonight. We do job applications. So all of these questions that you guys are asking, we go over this in depth, like immensely in depth. Anything that we don't go over, you can ask in mentoring, and we go over it. So these are just like what the trainings cover. So CVs, resumes, cover letters. I teach you how to write every single paragraph in a cover letter, how many to include, what should go in each cover letter. And then there's the last week, you're not done. Even if you get the job, how to start your job off right, how to make sure you maximize your experience at your job, because a lot of you guys are going to have temporary positions. So you want to think about the career, how to make sure, like in last session, you guys were asking, like, how do I get the skills? How do I get the experience? Well, I teach you how to ask for it and how to network, how to maintain your network, how to negotiate. If you get a permanent position, did you even know that you can negotiate your salary? I learned that years ago. And some of you might have to end your job early as well. How to do that without burning bridges. In addition to everything that we talked about here, I also have extras. So I talked about mentoring. We do mentoring every single week now. It used to be every other week. Every single week we do a Zoom call. And I build this off of your schedule. So when you join, you give me your typical week. So no matter where you are in the world, it doesn't matter. I will create sessions so that you can attend at least some of them live. Everything is recorded. You could submit your questions ahead of time if you cannot attend, and you can watch the recording. We do everything on these calls. We review job applications. We work through any problem that you are having. If you just want to show up and talk, you can show up and talk. We do it all. I have an extra, I said it's 17 weeks. I have an extra week where we do more mindset stuff. So like that Reese Witherspoon video I showed you, that's just like a taste of it. I'm really big on mindset. So we start by setting goals, making commitments. I teach you how to maximize using the program. And because like I said, I am so big on mindset, I suffered immensely from imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome is like the feeling of you're not good enough, that like you are in here by accident. Like say you got into graduate school, that it was a mistake. Like they mistakenly chose you. That's like how it feels to have imposter syndrome, that you like shouldn't be here. So I had so much imposter syndrome during graduate school that I didn't like raise my hand to ask questions literally for all of graduate school. And then in my postdoc, I was the person like always asking questions. So I teach you how to go through any limiting belief that you have, how to work through it. So every single week, there's this mindset to success thing. And mindset, you guys don't want mindset. You guys always want like the technical things, but mindset is actually the best thing, because when you have the right mindset, you can figure out the answers. I mean, I give you the answers in the trainings and stuff, but like when you have the right mindset, you truly are unstoppable. Somebody asked, do you ever cover burnout too? I don't think like I explicitly cover burnout, but I am really big on prioritizing self-care. And one of the bonuses I do have is called Overcoming Overwhelm. That covers burnout. So I think that bonus, I don't remember what day I released that bonus on, but that's a bonus that comes when you enroll on. So next week the doors open, and it's a bonus on, I want to say either Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. And there's also workbooks on all of this stuff too. I'm really huge on mindset. I attended a call recently, and somebody gave the advice saying that mentors, like you should find mentors to build you up. I just want to mention this. No, that is terrible advice. You don't want to rely on external people to build you up. Like, yes, if you join, I will support you. I will encourage you. I will like cheer you on. But you have to learn how to do it yourself. And that's what I teach you. I teach you how to build yourself up, because your mentors aren't going to be with you forever. And then there's a Discord group for community. So this is just like a chat community where we have different channels. We share our wins. I post weekly in there your goals, to stay accountable, to connect with people. Sometimes I'll find like exclusive tips and other materials as they come up that I'll share. Sometimes there's jobs that I know of. Recently, there was a job that I posted, actually 2 jobs that I posted in there, like specifically where I knew the people. So I would post this here and not like to anywhere else. And then another thing, like I said, I'm really big on mindset. So another thing I created, I actually do a version of this every morning. It's a morning routine so that when you wake up, I struggled with depression a lot and anxiety. So when you wake up, you do this morning routine and it sets you up for success for the day. And you can do this. I have like shorter versions and I have longer versions. Like the full routine would probably take you 20, 30 minutes, but I do have shorter versions if you only have like 5 minutes. And this is to have you go about your day with intention, with purpose, feeling good about yourself, about your career, about the potential, about what you can do in this world, and about feeling good in conservation too. Conservation can be very down. It can be very negative. You know, we're in the world, we're losing things. We're losing species. We're losing biodiversity. So that can be really tough to handle. Okay. So people always tell me 2 things. And they're like, I want to join, but I don't have time. So I just want to spend some time going here. Remember from train 1, what could be more important than your greatest desire? If this is truly what you want, this is temporary. Make some time to do this. I calculated the time it takes to do my program for the trainings and the exercises and the mentoring sessions. Yeah, I calculated all this. Probably 2 to 3 hours a week. You don't have to do that every single week. Everything's recorded and stuff, so you can set the pace, but I'm just averaging this out. It would be about 17 minutes per day. Are you watching Netflix for 17 minutes per day? I know I am. The new Love is Blind is on. I'm watching. So can you give that up temporarily? Or can you wake up a little bit earlier? Is there something else you can give up just temporarily? Can you multitask? Like I said, I walk my dogs a lot. I listen to trainings. I listen to podcasts. I listen to all this stuff when I'm walking my dogs. Do you have a commute? Are you cooking? You can do this stuff. Like, just think about like a podcast. Like, you don't, for this, like, you don't need to see the slides. This is like how I think of my program. You need to know the information. That's important. And you can always go back and look at the slides. You have everything indefinitely. You keep it all for life. And I guarantee you this will save you time in the long run. It's about slowing down to speed up. This is what somebody said. They were in the mindset that they needed to stay in the field, and brought them into positions they were less than happy with, and they really wish they found my class sooner so they could have saved myself the time. So you're going to be making decisions intentionally. You're going to know what you want. So when you know this, you don't have to spend the time doing things that are going to take you off your path. You're going to be on your path. You're going to know what you're doing. Okay. And then the other thing is how much. So I am a small business, and just remind you that like I do this because I want to be able to speak freely. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to tell everyone how it is. If I worked for a university, I don't know, I might be encouraged by the university to like push you down a certain path. I genuinely want you to have what is the best for you. I don't care what that is. And it is my role as a mentor to help you get that. So it allows me to speak freely on this field. And I can talk about the bad sides to being a professor. If I work for university, I don't know if I could say that. I don't know if I would get in trouble. If I worked for the government, for sure, I wouldn't be allowed to say whatever I wanted. And just so you know, like there's just like a lot of cost that goes, even though I'm digital and I don't have, like an overhead in terms of like a brick and mortar store, there's so many things that go into running an online business. Oh, this is something that Jamie wrote, is that, yeah, like I do an insider's view of the industry. I get to talk like really candidly about organizations, about specific organizations if I want to, because yeah, I'm not working for anyone. I can talk exactly how it is, what people are saying about the field, I don't say names, but like I know people who work for certain organizations or who have, worked at certain places and they're not happy. I can tell you exactly what it's really like. There's no programs or very few programs like that. No, there's no program like this. There's very few programs in our field. Really only one other person I know does it professionally. Everyone else looks like they're kind of trying it out. They haven't been around that long, and still there's very few people who do it. And like the programs I know of, there's no mentoring. So I'm the only person I know that does like mentoring. And when we do the Zoom calls, it's group mentoring, but I think somebody said like how many students per cohort. I am limiting it to 20 this time. Usually there's somewhere around that number, but it fluctuates. And when I first started, it was fewer, but people's schedules are really different. We literally have people all over the world. So even if there's 20 people, there's not going to be 20 people on a call because not everyone can do it at the same time. So I've never had it be so big that I could not answer every single person's question. You cannot use your career counselor because they're not trained to help you. They're not going to be able to help you. They don't know wildlife careers. I showed you examples of people who've never worked in a wildlife career. And same thing for job applications. You can go to a career center, but they don't know advice for wildlife careers. When you invest, I also want you to know that you're investing in yourself. And when you make an investment, you change. I have been in your shoes before. I've never been an entrepreneur before, so I invested in coaching programs. I invested in ones that were quite pricey. And when I did, I was like, I am getting every single penny's worth out of this course. And I changed. I showed up like every single week. When they had live calls, I showed up every single week because I was investing in it and I didn't want to lose money. So when you invest, you change. And I've done scholarships before. And there have been very few people when they get a scholarship who have really put in the work. I've had people I've given a scholarship to, and they filled out an application and they were like, I really want this. This is going to change my life, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 months later, I was like, they haven't like been on any of the calls or anything. And I reached out to them. And I can also see in the platform that we run, like who watches the trainings and stuff. They never opened the program. They never went to a Zoom session. And I was like, what's up? How come you're not coming? And they're like, oh, I don't know how to open the link. And it's like, well, you didn't email me. You didn't ask any questions. So when you make an investment yourself, it changes because you have skin in the game. I did Meetup. With Meetup, people would sign up for events. This is like to meet friends and stuff. People would sign up for events. And if they did not have to pay $1, they would drop at the last minute. But the second they had to pay $1, then they would second guess, like, okay, am I actually going to go to this event? And that's just like $1. So use money as your accountability buddy. When you invest in something, you're making a commitment to yourself. You're like, okay, it's real. I'm doing this now. I'm not going to have any excuses. And this really makes a difference for me. I talked about my weight loss journey before. When a couple of years ago, I gained some weight. Nothing serious, but I gained like 20 pounds and like nothing was changing. When I moved here, I can't remember how we started it, but we started doing DEXA scans and I was trying to lose weight. So I was doing DEXA scans and I lost a percentage of body fat. And that was like, whoa, like I did a great job. But I remember reaching this breaking point where my pants were tight. And I was just like, I'm just really sick of this. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I decided to invest in a program. And again, it was an expensive program. I had money on the line, but I was like, I just want to lose weight. I don't want to, or not even lose weight, but I want to lose fat. I wanted to improve my fitness. I wanted to improve my health. So I decided to invest in a program. And I had I had results. I didn't even know that I could have these results. So here we are. I started out at 32% body fat, and now I'm at 19% body fat. Again, I did not know I could even have these kinds of results. And I have these results because what changed is I had somebody overlooking my shoulder. I had always done tracking. I have always done high protein and macros and calorie counting, but I cheated because I was just like looking at myself. So when I would measure and weigh, I would cheat. But now I had a coach overlooking my shoulder and I was like, oh, he's going to know if I'm cheating because he's either going to know I'm cheating because I'm not getting the results I wanted, or he's going to be like, okay, is there something medically wrong with you? Because like I'm giving you the formula, but it's not working. So I had that accountability now. Like, okay, I have to do it. And also I was spending money on it. I don't want to waste money. Like I want to make sure I get the results I want. So a huge, huge difference. I lost, I don't know, what is that? Over 10% body fat I lost with a coach. And I'm still part of this program. I love this program. It's changed my life. It's changed my health so much. And again, I joined for weight loss, but the mindset has been huge. If you're interested in this program, let me know. I'm happy to share it with you. So anyways, that's the equipment, the successful wildlife professional. And so we just finished a cohort and I'm opening it up So I'm doing 20 spots for mentoring for the successful wildlife professional. And I do have a couple of options for you. So in the past, I've kind of only done successful wildlife professional, but I have a couple of options. So the first option, I do have one-on-one mentoring, and this comes with the successful wildlife professional. So this is like the VIP option. If you really want like personalized attention, you'll get to be part of the successful wildlife professional. So you'll get all of the trainings and you'll get to be a member of SWP for 6 months. In addition to that, you will get 6 1-hour-long sessions, just one-on-one with me. And I'm opening this up for 10 people. So this is like the VIP option. This is $29.97 or $527 per month over 6 months. If you just want to do the successful wildlife professional, it's a 4-month program. I'm opening up 20 spots for this, and you can do $14.97 paying for it all at once, or you can pay over 4 months, $377 per month. So those are the 2 options that take you through the whole entire program. Now, I also have another option if you want to work together, but say you know what you already want to do. I do have some people who know what they want to do. They're like, I want to be an ornithologist. I want to work for a nonprofit. I want to do bird research. And I just can't get a job. Like, I need help with the job applications. There is a third option, the Wildlife Job Application Academy. In this program, so you only get the trainings on the job application, and it's the same exact trainings from the successful wildlife professional. It's exactly the same. But once a month, I select 1 or 2 members' job application to review. So we do an in-depth Zoom call. We only do that once a month, and we only do that with 1 to 2 people. And this is either $127 a month for 4 months or $497. This, because I'm selecting from a pool of people, we have unlimited spots. So whoever wants to join this can join this. So those are the options to work together if you want a guide on your journey. And so I just want to encourage you that you can do this. We're going to open the doors next week, starting Monday. And I'm going to send out some emails in between now and then. One of the emails, or actually all of the emails, will include this PDF. If you need to earn extra income to do this, there are 22 ways in there to do it. So it'll have lots of ideas, but think about like maybe there's some things you can give up temporarily. Maybe there's some people you can ask for help. When I interviewed the president of the Wildlife Society, he told me that he asked his parents for Wildlife Society memberships for Christmas presents every single year. Because I think it's like I don't know how much the membership costs, but I think it's at least $100. So like, I don't know, be creative, but there's so many different ways to earn money now. Like obvious ones are like DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, pet sitting, like there's Rover or Wag. One of my friends, she did have actually I think she was in an apartment, and she did Rover, and people would drop off their dogs at her apartment and she would pet sit them for a week, and she would make like $1,000 a month just doing that. There's something called D-Scout where you can like test out products and write reviews of them and make money that way. So there's lots of options. You can sell stuff on Facebook. We're moving in next year, so I've actually been slowly selling stuff on Facebook, and not good stuff. Like I'm just selling like random stuff that I have here, like pictures, picture frames and things like that so it's like $5 here and there, but it's amazing what people will buy on Facebook, and it quickly adds up. So how much is this? I really want you to take some time to think about this, because I really want the best, what is best for you. I want you to think like, how much is it going to cost you if you don't make a change? Like you've already, and I get it, like some of you have already spent money on a degree. I've talked to people who spent like tens of thousands of dollars on a degree. So you've already invested this much. How much is that costing you if you're not using that degree, both in terms of like financially, but also like energetically? Like, aren't you angry? Like, I've talked to people who have degrees in wildlife zoology and they're working at banks. I've talked to people working at grocery stores. Like, your degree was not meant for that. Like, you deserve a job in your field, and I know you can get it. And then also like lost income. If you're not getting jobs, if you're not getting paid jobs in wildlife, how much money are you going to lose? Like, if you don't get that job as soon as possible, and that money compounds. I'm going to show you a graphic really quickly. How much more money could you make if you moved into your job permanent? Like, I know it might cost you some money right now to invest in my program, but if you could start a paid job, a permanent paid job sooner, wouldn't it be worth it in the long run? How much money could you save? How much would it compound over time? And I just want to give you, oh, it's coming up in 2 slides. So there's a lifelong payoff to this. Like from the second training that we did, that the sooner you get paid jobs, or jobs that have the right skills, and you'll learn how to do that. Even if you get unpaid jobs to begin with, I teach you how to ask for the skills that you need. I teach you how to get those. The sooner you'll get a permanent job. And when you get a permanent job, you can negotiate. In the last training, I teach you how to negotiate your salary, to ask for things. I talked about my student right now, or my former student, who she knows she can ask for a raise after a year. I don't think that's something they told her. She's doing this proactively. And when you get a permanent job, you're likely going to have a 401k. Even if you don't have a 401k, you can open up an IRA. I didn't have a 401k until I started working at the museum, which was after my PhD. But I have money. I have money saved away for my retirement because I've had an IRA open since I was 18, and I have been contributing to that since I've been 18. And I just want to show you this super quick graphic. The earlier that you start investing in yourself, it's not about the amount, it's about how early you do it. So this is a 19-year-old. He starts investing at 19. He only does this for 8 years. And when you invest in mutual funds, it compounds in interest. So by the time so I think this is when they're both 65. So he has close to $2 million by the time he's 65. He only invests for 8 years, from 19 until 27. A 27-year-old, when they start investing at 27, they invest for 38 years. They don't have as much money, because when you invest in mutual funds, it's like exponential growth. So you do want to start making money early. And and in my program, we talk about salaries, and we talk about things like this. So this is also stuff that I can guide you on. I'm not a financial planner, but I know the basics of investing early, and I know resources. Actually, my dad was obsessed with finances, so I've read a bunch of financial books. And I actually started a financial program too that I'm happy to give you access if that's something you're really interested in. I didn't finish that, but there are several weeks up there that give you the basics of doing stuff like this. So just, this is one of my students. She was saying it's one of the best investments she ever made in herself. And then this is Alana. This is a quote. I did a profile in her, and she was on the fence. But she was like, and actually when Alana joined, the program was 1997. So I've changed the investment. But she was like, what do I have to lose? And I just want to emphasize that as long as you do the work, it's refunded. So if you have to complete 80%, I believe it's 80% of the training. But as long as you do the work, because I know this works, I just don't want you to enroll and then never open the trainings and be like, oh, it's not working for me. You have to watch the trainings. You have to do the work. So I do have a guarantee, and it's on the website. You'll get the information about the guarantee. But yeah, as long as you do it, I like I said, I totally believe that when you do it, that you that you will get the results. It's just a matter of time. If you're having breakthroughs now, I actually get emails from students often, just like, yeah, the bonus week, the week 0. They just feel so much better. They feel so much, they feel so reassured. You have somebody in your corner rooting you on. I truly believe in all my students, no matter what their backgrounds are. I showed you Christina, who had no wildlife experience. Christina was like, not that I should have favorite students, but I love her story because she's had so many successes and she had no wildlife experience. She calls herself shy. I'm like, you are not. I mean, maybe she is shy, but she was networking like crazy, like really putting herself out there, reaching out to people, mostly online. She did go to in-person events as well, but yeah, like if you're feeling like this great now doing the workbooks and everything, you're gonna feel a million times better. So how fast do you want to go? Like, spend some time this weekend. Like, how fast do you want to go? How certain do you want to be of your success? And where do you want to be 4 months from now? Do you want to be in a job? And I just want to show you, I see like some of you have to go. I know I'm going long. But like, this is Dylan. I showed you him in the first training. If you can hang out a little bit longer, the person said they have to go. We're going to do the giveaway soon. He got a job that he loved. This is a permanent position, even though it's a technician position, doing gray wolf work. And he got this result just halfway through the program. So these are real things that can happen. Okay, so next step, the doors open Monday. They close on Thursday. I saw somebody ask, how often do I offer the course? The course is open all the time, but I cap it at a certain number of people. So if 20 people join by Thursday, then it's closed. If not, then you can join afterwards, but it is a risk. I am going to also do a 60-minute one-on-one session with people for the first 10 people who sign up. So pay attention for that. You'll get the link through email. You'll get You'll get email access to people who've been in the programs before if you want to chat with people. And that's it. It's giveaway time. So if you guys have questions, it looks like you've asked some questions already. If you have more questions, feel free to post them in the chat. I think I've caught up with everything. Yeah. When working with a job tracker, what is the best way to find those jobs? Is it checking on job boards for openings or is it something else? So in the job tracker, there is a link to the blog post. I wrote a blog post like these are the best wildlife job boards and organizations you can check. So look in the job tracker for that job post. I can also put it in the chat really quickly too. Let me see, best job boards. I'll put it really quickly. And you can start looking at those job boards. You'll find out that some of those job boards are not relevant for you. Like you're obviously not going to check the ornithology one if you don't want to be an ornithologist. You'll figure out like which ones are the best for you over time. But yeah, and like setting up Indeed alerts, LinkedIn alerts, things like that. Okay, so keep posting questions. I'm going to do giveaways. So this is for 2 free one-on-one mentoring sessions with me, 30 minutes. You have to use them by Friday of next week. So you're going to email me. That my email address is Stephanie. So Chelsea, just one name, Chelsea is one of the winners. And then let's do the other winner is Megan Elizabeth McDonald. Very full name, so we cannot confuse her with anyone. So you guys email me and we will set up a time that works for you. And then like another common question that people have is I talked about breaking it down week by week. You don't have to do it all at once. That is like the pacing of the program. But when people join, they are at all different levels. So when we do mentoring sessions, some people might have a job application to review. Some people might have a question about courses they want to take during their undergrad. Some people might be like, I'm switching from this career. Like, what are my first steps? So there's questions from like all walks of life, all different places. Everyone's at all different levels. I've had people with PhDs in my program. I've had people who are in their 60s in my program who are transitioning to this career. I haven't had people in high school yet, but undergrads. So all different kinds of levels. You are welcome, Nana. I hope I pronounced that correctly, or Nona. Thank you guys so much for being such an amazing group. And I'm going to go eat some dinner now too. If you have questions, feel free to message me. I am more than happy to answer them. My email is up here, and you can just also reply to the emails that I send out. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week.
That was the last training. If you missed trainings 1 and 2, go back to the earlier podcast. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be on the recommended playlist that is coming up on your screen. As a reminder, these recordings are only here until October 23rd. And you're going to want to head over to fancyscientist.com 3-pillars-2-success to get the free workbook. That is where all the exercises are. And I want to hear from you. Let me know in the Getting a Job in Wildlife Biology Facebook group what kinds of jobs you're finding. Comment on my Instagram, on my TikTok. I would love to know what you think about the series, how it's helped you, what questions you still have. When you apply these 3 pillars, it works. I want to hear from you what's going on in your wildlife career, what you're still struggling with, what are your next steps. Let's talk to each other and let me know what you think of this training and how I can help you next.